listening to your brain on air. The program will begin shortly. Enjoy. Hallgatod az agyadat a levegőben, a program hamarosan kezdődik, élvezd.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Your Brain on Air. I am your host, Ollie Vogt Larson, and I am happy to be back for your Friday broadcast. Apologies for taking Thursday off. I didn't have any Wi-Fi, but we're back at it again. We're making order out of the chaos. We are all under the seeing eyes of Dr. T.J. Eckelberg, my F. Scott Fitzgerald fans will be able to understand that. Folks, when the human race learns to read the language of symbolism, a great veil will fall from the eyes of men and women, I guess, if we want to be inclusive. Men just used to be, when the quote was made, men just used to refer to all people. Those planes were definitely remote controlled. Do you really think the CIA would have trusted those Arabs to stay on course? They would have taken out the Pan Am by mistake. Emergency alert to all you beautiful listeners. Tick season is in swing, and the government manufactured illnesses are spreading faster than ever. That's right, folks. Fresh from Plum Island Animal Disease Center, Lyme disease is raging faster and better than ever. The new kid on the block as well. The Lone Star tick, oh my goodness, its range has been expanding quicker than ever. It turns out it's hard to convince people to eat 3D printed meat. So if you just unleash a pathogen, a bug of some variety that makes people need to avoid eating ordinary meat and instead pivot to some sort of manufactured or even fake meat because they're now allergic to a certain type of, I think it's the glucose in red meat, except for certain primates, but it's most meats in general. It's actually really easy to make people need your fake meat. It's actually genius if you think about it. Take the choice out of the equation. Folks, don't even bother with the outdoors this year. If you are not long-sleeved up and checking every second you come inside, you're not doing it right. This is a real crisis on our hands, folks. I know people who've gotten Lyme disease as of recent. This is happening in 2025. 2026 looks like it's going to be even worse than the previous ones on record. We are dealing with allergies to steak, motherfucker. So if you don't want to be having your night out taken away, getting whatever red meat item you want off the menu, you don't want that opportunity to be snatched away by a little bug you don't even see, listen up, folks, because alpha-gal syndrome has already affected 500,000 people in the U.S. alone, estimates are saying. I have this wonderful clip from the World Economic Forum recently. If you don't know about that, you're not deep enough in. And this may actually reveal some of the layers of thoughts that the people in control, that they may have, quite frankly, because they reveal it when they go to these conferences. They reveal it when they talk in front of all their rich friends. Folks, let's foyer into their mind a little bit, shall we? I'm so happy about the Friday energy we're bringing into it. Begin.
Possibly we can use human engineering to make it the case that we're intolerant to certain kinds of meat, to certain kinds of bovine proteins. And there's actually analogs of this in life. There's this thing called the Lone Star tick, where if it bites you, you will become allergic to meat. I can sort of describe the mechanism. So that's something that we can do through human engineering. We can kind of possibly address really big world problems.
Really big world problems, addressing them with human engineering. This is the World Economic Forum. If you don't believe my words, you can at least believe their own words, wouldn't you say, folks? Wouldn't you say that? But by the way, let's actually just address this. Who's funding the research into preventing Lyme disease? Turns out Pfizer's got a vaccine on the way. Who else is big into this? The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. A lot of people are going to go, oh, you're going to touch the Gateses? Oh my goodness, you sound like a conspiracy theorist. They're some of the richest people in the world. Is it a conspiracy just to talk about them? You all sound pretty conspiratorial when you talk about Elon Musk. Oh my goodness. Suddenly it's so evil to talk about rich people and what they may be up to. Oh. Anyways, Bill Gates, a visionary that he is, who wanted to launch a rocket of dust into the atmosphere to fight climate change. It was a horrible idea. Scientists condemned him for it, and he called them conspiracy theorists, whatever. No one ever likes to talk about the actualities around this man. They only ever want to talk about how they only want to talk about, not back when in the 90s, he was known as this awful person to his employees. He was known as this union buster. And then they only ever want to pivot to this era in the 2000s, the 2010s, when little kids like me were growing up, opening their National Geographic books or whatever, and seeing how Bill Gates was over there giving oral, oral like vaccines for what's it called? The polio vaccine to a bunch of kids. Turns out it ended up giving it to a bunch of those kids. Oops. Well, you know, it happens when you're doing science. Look it up if you don't believe me, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about Plum Island Animal Disease Center. Let's have this actually beautifully mustachioed gentleman break it down for us a little bit, because I feel like you're already getting tired of my voice. Are you? If not, you know what? The rest of the episode you have to hear me. I'm going to be pivoting to a couple other figures here and there so that they can explain it in their much less wordy ways.
This lab was a part of America's biological research system, and it was focused on creating animal disease and biological weapons. In the 1950s and 60s, during the Cold War, America was actively researching biological warfare using insects and ticks. Not just pathogens, but the delivery systems, including ticks. They wanted to know how they could get it out there. And in 2019, Congress requested an investigation into whether specific ticks had ever been used in biological weapons between the 1950s and 1975. Now, that's not a theory, that's an official congressional directive. If you don't think that this is already pretty strange, here's where things get even stranger. So, the very first case of Lyme disease appears in Connecticut in 1975. Again, before that, ticks were nothing. In fact, in the 1970s, the tick population was so low and unheard of that America wasn't even tracking ticks. So we don't actually know where it came from or why it started. Here's what we do know. Ticks and the diseases they carried did not stay contained.
If you grew up anywhere else besides Connecticut, you also know this. Check for ticks, check for ticks. The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, some of the biggest funders into tick-borne illnesses and vaccines for said illnesses. This is very awesome to see, but also weirdly timed. Lyme vaccine shows more than 70% efficacy. God damn. And you know who we're getting this from? Pfizer. Let's hear what they have to say.
Well, we are one step closer to a Lyme disease vaccine. Pfizer and Valneva said Monday that their shot showed more than 70% efficacy in a late-stage study. Now, it fell short of the testing goal, though, due to a smaller number of Lyme cases during the trial. There hasn't been an approved Lyme vaccine in more than 20 years. Valneva said last year it expected Pfizer to launch its vaccine in the second half of 2027. That is pending if it is approved.
If it is approved, ladies and gentlemen. But in the meantime, check your sleeves. They're out in full force. People apparently treated for Lyme disease each year is 476,000, and it's only going to continue to grow from here. Let's end out this intro sequence before we move on to our main story by giving some headway, giving some airtime to some out there thoughts and theories. Admittedly, I don't know about anybody else. I have been trying to make heads or tails of this triumphal arch that Donald Trump has proposed. I don't get it. I don't frankly understand it. Washington, D.C. is a pretty enough city as it is, and I think just the mimicry of borrowing from overseas, I think that, quite frankly, we're in an era where we can start to get a little more creative. We can start to originate our own design styles. We can start to whatever. I was just thinking that there's a little more room for creativity, but then there was a gentleman who presented himself on the Instagram, as all decent minds, quite frankly, Aristotles of our day do, and he made it all make sense to me, quite frankly. This gentleman is into numerology. This gentleman is of an interesting mind, quite frankly, one that I myself am not able to diagnose or pick apart, but I'm going to allow you to hear his words. Hear him out, ladies and gentlemen. Whether or not you are a Trump hater or lover, you have to admit that his words do, on a certain level, make sense. Hear him out.
See this? Trump is going to build himself an arch. When a Freemason achieves godhood, they build themselves an arch. That's what it means. And the arch is a portal from the real world to the spirit world, because Freemasons are all about demonics, right? And he's going to call it the triumphal arch. And triumphal arch is what? 6, 7. That's right. Just like the war is called Epic Fury, which is 6, 7. Just like all the kids are doing 6, 7. You know why? Because 6 equals 7. Yeah, and you know what? It was the word of the year last year. It was all foreshadowing of this war. Also, COVID-19 is 6, 7. Just like the biggest pop star in the world, Taylor Swift, who loves to put the number 13 on her hand, yeah, is 7-6, which is 6, 7. And they even have the sweatshirt. It's Mason 6, 7. This is all Mason signaling that this is a Masonic genocide going on. So what is 6, 7? Well, 6, 7 is 13, which is M, right? Like the Masonic apron is M, and you just flip it over.
For a W?
W, which is the 23rd letter of the alphabet, which 2 plus 3 equals 5, like the Masonic compass and square. So yeah, his triumphal arch, which is 6'7", just like Epic Fury is 6'7". That's what it's all about, people. I told you when the kids were doing 6'7", it was covert signaling that the cult was up to something.
Yep.
So, with that, the other thing is, just a couple months ago, we were tapping into our strategic petroleum reserves, right? Because of the oil shortage and all that. Now, all of a sudden, Trump has a bunch of tankers coming to America to fill up. So tell me this, how are those tankers going to fill up? Are we going to drain our strategic oil reserve to
Why
fill
not?
those tankers? Anyhow, people, have a good day. 6'7", you know what it is? It's just more covert signaling by the occult that this is a genocide. So, sign, share, and promote the Full Disclosure Act every single day, man. We got them on the
Number Master 22 on Instagram. Go follow him, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, Trump a Freemason achieving godhood, building an arch in his honor. I mean, listen, whether you're a Trump hater or lover, you got to see the connections. I see the connections. Folks, see the connections. Bush was directly involved in the attempted assassination on Reagan. He was director of the CIA before he ascended to the vice presidency, then presidency. They're all skull and bones, Yaley types, the CIA puppets running the show for the entire 1980s. If you aren't awake to any of it yet, we've got a lot of work to do. Where have you been your whole life? If you're over the age of 18, which by the way means born before 2008, isn't that weird to say? You have no excuse not to know that Barbara Bush was the secret daughter of Aleister Crowley. You have no excuse not to already know that Jack Parsons, founder of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, engaged in devil worship with George W. Bush's secret grandfather and L. Ron Hubbard. If you're hearing this and you're going, whoa, what are you saying? If you're over the age of 12, it's like, where have you even been? You've been on this earth too, right? Like have you been looking around the entire time? This is base level stuff. Do you even know that Lady Liberty is actually the Freemason symbol of Apollo? Folks, the reality of this world runs deep. And the way that I hear most 40-somethings talk about this, it's like 80% of ordinary go to work, live their life people are retarded when it comes to anything that is esoteric or below the surface, like it's research oriented. Ask any normal person their thoughts on how Trump is working to fulfill the Greater Israel plan. They don't know what Greater Israel is. Ask any normal person. Most of them can't tell you what a Freemason is. Most of them, they've heard of the Illuminati. They don't realize it's the reason they have a social security number. Like when you start researching, like mid-level researching, you don't even have to try that hard. You realize this. Most people don't actually care about the truth of the world around them. Most people, and I know this is hard to hear, but most people are pretty content getting Big Macs, watching the game, and if you ask them about anything before the year of 1945, most of their knowledge of history drops off a cliff. Most people watch Inglourious Bastards and don't know the names of Hitler's closest allies. Most people don't watch Downfall and look for all the historical inaccuracies between Hitler and his closest allies in his final days. Most people, to put it lightly, are just kept stimulated by much less than the history of their species. But not you, ladies and gentlemen, not you, the listeners of this show. You and I, we are the truth seekers, we are the definers, we are the trailblazers, the ones who break out the compasses while everyone else sits at the camp, happy to eat soup, get fat, and sing songs and drink. And me and you, we're the last hope for humanity. We're the last hope that this species has, quite frankly. The last few question askers, the last few people willing to crack a joke about the Jesuits worshiping Satan and mean it. So folks, man or woman, gay or straight, black or white, brown, get the hell out of here. You're not clearly definable like the rest of us. Let's just start turning over all the stones in the media today. Let's ride. The CIA, $20 million spent, Gateway process declassified in 2003, teaching officers how to spy via corporeal consciousness projections. Project Stargate, more pages have been leaked explaining hemispheric brain synchronization for accessing non-local information. This is how they spy on people. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen. Now let's hop on to the California Chainsaw Massacre that is David. Begin. New and deeply disturbing details have surfaced in the capital murder case against the 21-year-old and innocent singer David. David Burke, D4VD, as I've called him in the past, he's a cool guy. He's a cool guy who is up to some cool things. And as Los Angeles prosecutors have detailed what they've called a horrifying sequence of events, I'm looking at this thing and I'm going, how can we come to a reality here? I don't want the propaganda. I don't want the bullshit served by either side. I want the truth. Dead-on truth. I don't want the lies from the prosecution. I don't want the lies from David. I want to know what happened to Celeste Rivas Hernandez. In court filings this week, the district attorney's office alleged that the romantic homicide singer used 2 chainsaws purchased online to dismember the teenager's body in an inflatable pool in his garage. Investigators say they discovered the victim's DNA in that garage, corroborating their theory that the space was used as a makeshift site for the mutilation. Well, you know, you make do with what you have. The space is like when you're limited in Los Angeles, and admittedly, I don't know how he hid it in Los Angeles. Bro, chainsaws are loud, but admittedly, so many of your neighbors are on Ambien. So many of them are drinking wine at 3 in the afternoon. He could have done this. And then maybe gone, oh, I had somebody over doing lawn work earlier today. That's what all that noise was. And then what they don't realize is that when they're like, oh, can I have a dilly bar? Oh, wait, no, this is the West Coast, so they don't have dilly bars. Do they have dilly bars on the West Coast? Tell me if they have dilly bars. I'm reporting live from the Midwest, and we love dilly bars here. But are they those big over there? Anyway, they ask him, can we have like a California roll or some shit? And then he goes in that freezer, and when he grabs that sushi platter, they don't realize that it's sitting next to a head of a 14-year-old. The prosecution's narrative paints a picture of a cold, calculated cover-up. According to the new filings, David killed Hernandez by stabbing her multiple times after she threatened to expose their illegal sexual relationship. Keep in mind, she was 14. He was, I believe, 20 at this time, 19 or 20. Either way, it's more than statutory. It's just wrong either way you slice it. An exposure, she claimed, would end his career, to say it lightly. Prosecutors allege that after the murder, David, I'm not going to call him Burke, don't even try. David stood by and watched her bleed out before beginning to the dismemberment process. Most shocking to the public was the revelation that the very next day, while the victim's remains were allegedly still in his possession, David attended a high-profile record release party and gave radio interviews to promote his debut album, Withered. It's a bad album name. I'm sorry. I don't like it. It's Withered. It's not that. You don't sound like Keith Richards. You don't sound cool. You don't sound like one of these skinny heroin addicts back in the 70s enough. The digital evidence against the singer has grown to a massive 40 terabytes, as we've covered yesterday. Well, not yesterday. A couple days ago, including text messages and iCloud data. Prosecutors say that they have recovered messages from the night of the murder that show the two in a heated argument over David's relationship with other women. I mean, he can't just be loyal to his 14-year-old girl. He's got to have some, I don't know, maybe younger on the side. At least according to this detective that we had interviewed. The files also allegedly contain a significant amount of child pornography. Despite the graphic details, David's defense team continues to maintain his total innocence. And quite frankly, I don't know who to believe here. I'm recently securing the delay for the preliminary hearing, now set for May 26th, to allow for more time to review the mountain of evidence. Quite frankly, it could have been his gardener who did all this shit. How do you know just because a murder happened in my garage, you can't prove that I'm the one who chopped that lady up? The case is moving toward a critical May hearing. By the way, happy May, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be May. Is that NSYNC or is that Backstreet Boys? It's gonna be May. I think it's Justin Timberlake, so I'm pretty sure it's NSYNC. We're moving towards the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's report underscoring the brutality of the crime, noting that the victim's body was so degraded by the time that it was found in the trunk of David's Tesla that the eye color could not even be determined. fuck. That is like borderline mummification. David remains, I almost said David's remains, and it's like, he's not the dead one here. David remains held without bail and faces special circumstance allegations of lying in wait and murdering a witness. Charges that carry potential death sentence. It's I doubt it. I'm going to be honest with you. I have no idea. This might be the getaway of the century that we're watching here. Do you feel that? People who were alive for the 1995? When was the OJ verdict read? October 3rd, 1995. Those who were alive and remember that date, even a little bit, teensy little bit, let us know. Like, is this in any way comparable to this sort of like, oh shit, it looks pretty obvious that this guy might be guilty, but he might get off on a technicality. I don't know. Does it look like this for anybody that even has a peripheral view of this case and maybe was alive for the OJ hearing? Here, just give me some info here. I was a 2003 child, so I was born after 9/11, just to let you know. Okay, but I admittedly, I know more about how the world actually works than most people born, let's call it, before 1999. I'm going to be honest with you. For the music industry, the reeling right now because of the rise to fame. People were dancing to him at their wedding, quite frankly. People were doing their first dance to Here With Me. And it's like, it's a decent enough song, but admittedly, when you go back and listen to it, his song is just croony, croaky, but not in a really nice, Frank Sinatra way, just sort of this, and I know that sounds like my Bob Dylan impression a little bit, but I don't know, maybe it's just white guys are better at doing it than black guys. Black guys can't really do that emotional, I'm just gonna croon into a mic with my guitar. I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's a color thing, but it seems like David's making it a color thing. Let's hear a little bit more of the details.
If you, like me, had no idea who David or D4VD is before this body was found in the trunk of his car, let me catch you up.
I think a lot of people are shocked that you can basically order a kill kit to your home through Amazon.
Hell yeah.
Such as a body bag, 2 chainsaws, a burn cage, and a blue inflatable pool. All delivered to singer David's home after he allegedly murdered a 14-year-old girl, according to new details in a court filing from prosecutors in Los Angeles.
The details in this murder case are disturbing and extensive.
David is known for hits like Romantic Homicide.
Hits? That's an exaggeration. I kill you.
His real name is David Anthony Burke. Met Celeste Rivas Hernandez when she was 11 years old. Started a sexual relationship in 2023.
He's a Woody Allen type then. That's like a kid that you knew when they were a young jit. You can't get with a person you knew when they were a young jit.
When she was 13, he was 18. Earlier this month, David was charged with her murder. Shocked by the new allegations, the Rivas family issuing a statement tonight. There are no words to express the indescribable pain the family is experiencing right now. The LA District Attorney's Office say they obtained text messages that showed a sexual relationship. In one, Rivas Hernandez allegedly texting David, "All we do is have sex and just hang out, man. I want more than that for myself."
These text messages are going to be a large part of their case to show why David allegedly committed this murder.
They allege in April of last year she threatened to expose their relationship and destroy his career.
That leads up to April 23rd when law enforcement believes that Celeste was brought to David's home by an Uber, stabbed multiple times, and then left there.
The filing goes on to say David used the chainsaw he had delivered to dismember her body. David has pleaded not guilty. As lawyers have said in the past, they will vigorously defend David's innocence.
First-degree murder with special circumstances. The special circumstances being lying in wait, committing this crime for financial gain, or murdering a witness in an investigation.
The victim's remains were found in the trunk of David's abandoned car last September, one day after she would have turned 15. 21-year-old David is being held without bail and is due back in court next month.
I don't know how someone can look like they can fit grapes in their nostrils. And this is not a racial thing. Quit it, you guys. This is not a racial thing. It's not, listen, I'm not Joe Jackson calling Michael Jackson big nose. I'm calling a potential, let's just call it potential right now. I don't want to get sued. A potential murderer, big nose. Is there any issue with that? It's not a racial thing. It's that he looks like he could shoot grapes out of his nose. Folks, I want to talk about a new trend that is hitting the airwaves, hitting the trends, quite frankly. A lot of kids have been doing it. They've been recreating it, and I'm worried that has it happened at Minneapolis yet? Minneapolis has a branch of Scientology. I don't know if they've been stormed yet. Oh shit, I gave away the story. Anyways, TikTokers have been raiding the Scientology buildings, posting them online. And I love this disruptive kind of new, like, it's bizarre, but it's just enough to where we can change minds. And listen, people are going to go, wait, this actually is borderlining on like vandalism in some instances, and I'm going, I actually like it. So this is called Scientology speedrunning, and it's causing chaos in Hollywood. It's forcing the Church of Scientology to fortify its buildings against waves of social media content creators and even just ordinary kids. Let's talk about it. This trend, which began with a viral video in March, so over a month ago, involves participants attempting to sprint as deep into Scientology facilities as possible while filming. This is hilarious. I don't know why 90s kids didn't think of it. Guys, 90s kids. Scientology was huge back in the 90s, 2000s. I think it started rising up really in the 80s, 70s and whatnot. But like, how did it take you guys this long to think of this? This is genius. They're often aiming for the information center on Hollywood Boulevard. It started as a prank. It's now escalated to more like these high stakes raids, people in frog costumes. They have dozens of individuals rushing into the building at once. It results in property damage, physical altercations with staff. Church of Scientology has responded with extreme security measures, including removing the exterior door handles of the Hollywood Information Center, which is illegal, breaks fire codes, but that's perfectly whatever. It's using human barricades also to block the entrances. Church officials have officially labeled the incidents as organized trespass, and they're pushing for them to be prosecuted as hate crimes, claiming that the staff members have been knocked over and injured during the incursions. Good. Unfortunate, but good. I'm sorry, I'm not in favor of any practitioner of a religion being beaten up for their faith. These aren't religious practitioners, unfortunately, though. Although they do have every right, based on our Constitution, to be labeled as a religion, because the things they believe in, by the way, are just as ridiculous as, say, the Mormons or the Christians or the Jews or the Islamists. They are just as insane. They have ranking variables, and the thing that changes the Abrahamic religions, every Christian is hearing this and going, no, we're different. The guy who scammed all of you just died 2,000 years ago. That's the big thing. He claimed to fulfill a Jewish prophecy most of you fuckers haven't even read, and then he claimed to fulfill that. Most of you don't even realize that he was not even born in the right town. They had to literally move it for the Christmas story to make it so that he would be born in the city of David. But whatever, because Jesus of David, it's whatever. It doesn't matter. I'm not even going to be bothering to go into it because there's no theologians that are listening to this and can honestly put up a disagreement. If you know, you know. And unfortunately for most Christians, they do not know. It's not our fault. It's just ignorance that has been promulgated by their religion. They're no better than the Mormons. It's not their fault. The LAPD is currently investigating several series of these runs, and they have increased patrols in the area. They're warning that participants could face charges of battery or burglary. Even high-profile critics of the church are urging the public to stop the trend. Actress and activist Leah Remini, yeah, she's a real activist, took to her Substack last week to warn that these raids are actually helping the church's narrative. Remini argued that by invading the religious center, TikTokers are validating the church's long-standing claims that the outside world is filled with dangerous lunatics who wish them harm, potentially causing members to double down on their commitment to the organization. If you're a Scientologist listening to this, if you're in, you're in kind of a thing. It's more of like you'll wake up when you realize you're a retard. And for most people, they don't ever realize they're retarded. They'll live their lives like the retard they are. That's just how life is. It's unfortunate we can't wake people up. And Leah Remini's lucky. She's lucky that she woke up to some level of her retardation. Despite these warnings, the trend continues to evolve. Some creators are now using air horns to try to one-up each other, increasingly getting deeper in penetrations into this facility. As of this morning, May 1st, no formal arrests have been made in connection to the trend, though the LAPD have detained several individuals for questioning. TikTok has also begun removing some of the most popular speedrun videos for violating terms of service regarding illegal acts and harassment. For the church, though, the battle has moved from the digital space to the sidewalk. They're continuing to employ what some online are calling the Red Rover defense to keep influencers at bay. They're taking this really serious. I'm going to put a clip in the description if you'd like to take a look at it. Let's hear it. Someone dressed as Jesus. Someone dressed as Jesus tearing the doors open.
Including a man dressed like Jesus, stampeding right through security at a Scientology building on Hollywood Boulevard.
Awesome.
Screaming as they sprint into the organization's notoriously clandestine halls. Let's go in. Others.
Yeah, Leah Remini, this is just my rebuttal. They're lost causes. People who are in the institution or in the organization, I don't care about them as people. You couldn't pay me to care about them. It's unfortunate. They are subservient to an organization that they know alienates and harms individuals, and has been proven with Snow White Operation Snow White, to even have been clandestinely destroying government documents that had made them look bad in any way. This is provable. This is documented. But yet they somehow. This is like why I have no sympathy for Christians. They continue to support an organization, especially the Catholics, the ones who continue to donate, especially directly to the Vatican, when they know exactly what the institution they don't know exactly what it is. There's levels of ignorance. Maybe they grew up in it, maybe whatever. But I have no sympathy for the people who are deeply committed to evil. I have none. I'm sorry. If you looked at the words of L. Ron Hubbard, believe that his institution is worth getting harmed and trampled over by TikTokers for, you deserve to get trampled on. Not my fault. No, I think it's inhuman. I think it's rude. I think it's awful. I don't think people should be doing it. I don't really care, though.
A more subtle approach. Even signing in, looking for access.
Hi. Oh, no. Let me do that real quick.
Or apparent content for social media videos that are suddenly everywhere. They're calling it speedrunning Scientology. Get out! Inspired by video game slang. Here the players are not just confronting guards, but unlocking maps of the buildings.
Nice.
Former Scientologist turned critic Leah Remini slamming the efforts as failing to highlight anything substantive.
It feels like it's about clicks, and it's turning something serious into content, and doing.
How about this? Speedrun the Vatican. I want people trying to speedrun the Mormon Church. If we're going to be speedrunning Scientology, I want to do it to all the religious institutions, because they're all on equal footing. Scientology is on equal footing with the Catholic Church. And if you don't believe that, or if you're not on the level of awakened yet to where you can realize that the Catholic Church is just where they center all the power, Freemasons are servants to it, you are just so caught up in delusion that you haven't even been awoken to any of that. I can't, there's no saving you. Not you, dear listener, but anybody who may be disagreeing with this. It's that Scientology and any major Abrahamic religions, they're on the same level. And in Buddhism, Hinduism, religions in general, I believe, are on the same level. Raid their institutions just as you would Scientology. I'm not calling for that, but if you're going to be raiding religious institutions, which Scientology is, the L. Ron Hubbard is just as valid a prophet as Jesus Christ, Abraham, or Muhammad were. He is just as valid a prophet, and if you don't like what I'm saying, you're not awakened yet. That's okay.
So it completely loses the point.
Their purpose isn't entirely clear, and some participants appear to be teenagers. One creator, credited with beginning the trend, known only as Swiley, telling The Hollywood Reporter, "I didn't do this whatsoever to come out against them or anything. I do not condone what I did, even though I didn't break any laws." With a Scientology spokesperson telling NBC News, "These are peaceful spaces. Turning them into targets for viral stunts is not journalism, protest, or civic activity. It is trespass, harassment, and disruption of religious facilities."
Good. That's good. I don't believe religions should be practiced. quite frankly. And if we can interrupt one more group of people from gathering and talking bullshit to each other, why not? It's fun. And plus everybody gets to see the inside of their secret little buildings where little men wear little robes and have like stupid little haircuts.
The spokesperson adding they're taking protective security measures and reporting the incidents to police. After a recent incident last weekend, the LA Times reporting that the LAPD's Major Crimes Division has been tasked with investigating it as an alleged hate crime.
Oh my God.
As Remini has cautionary words for the content creators and their legal exposure.
This trend creates chaos. It creates a spectacle. And worst of all, it hands Scientology.
You were perfectly willing to create chaos for the years that you were a part of that organization. Fuck you, you fucking loser. You see anybody that has any different way of protesting. They're not beating people up. They're not killing Scientologists. They're running around their buildings a little bit. You calm down. You'll be all right. You'll be fine. And if they really want to practice anywhere else, if they want to practice their little creepy seminars and whatnot, if they're really dedicated to privacy, they'll find another building. They'll figure it out. They'll make it work. Or they'll just find a way to actually keep people out. You know, they're doing a pretty poor job of that. Clearly, they don't care much about their privacy if they're not doing a good job of protecting it. I don't know. Scientologists in general, my sympathy is limited. Sympathy's limited. My sympathy, you guys know that I'm a well of sympathy. I'm a good person. I'm actually a better person than most people in general. And actually everyone who listens to this program would agree with that. I'm actually, it's debated as to whether or not I should formulate my own religion, because people are always saying, you're just such a smart oracle of knowledge. You could lead the masses. You could lead millions. And honestly, it sucks having this much goodness in my heart. It's just like I'm a papal figure. You know what I mean? If the Pope was a decent, kind person who cared about goodness in the world, he's not. But that's perfectly fine. No Jesuit is. Let's go on. Ladies and gentlemen, let's talk about the Voting Rights Act being gutted. According to everybody, according to this from the Supreme Court, you're not allowed to discriminate by race. Wait a minute, isn't that what we have been trying to do this whole time? Except this time, you're just not allowed to do it by whiteness. You're not allowed to discriminate by. Let's allow CNN themselves to break it down, and I will go ahead and break it down for you. Why maybe the effects of this are being a tad overblown.
I just came from a dramatic scene inside the Supreme Court. The justices have issued a major Voting Rights Act decision that's going to affect the midterm elections and elections from here on out. It makes it harder for blacks and Latinos to challenge.
How does it actually?
Voting map, and to say that their power has been diluted in the way a voting map has been drawn. Justices made it harder to challenge a Louisiana case in which 2 black majority districts were drawn. But more broadly, what the court has done, what the conservative majority has done in this 6-3 decision, is to really change the terms of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. Justice Sam Alito read his statement for the majority, and as he was finishing up, he said, do not listen to what the dissenters say. It's really not this bad. But when Justice Elena Kagan spoke through the 3 liberals, she said, it is bad. This court has completed a project to undercut the Voting Rights Act.
How?
An act that was paid for by people's blood. And in that reference...
Oh my God, they're all into the platitudes. They're all into, this cuts down the fundamental rights. In what way? Just listen. I want you to use your words to explain to me how this is going to be damaging. Okay, essentially, what this was going to do, it sent down a thing on this newly drawn Louisiana map. It would create a second majority black congressional district with their conservative majority labeling it an unconstitutional racial gerrymander. Essentially, they were attempting to gerrymander in order to create minority major districts. Minority meaning essentially minority can mean for whatever the gerrymander wants it to. If you in your gerrymandering mind want a little more white representation, a little more black representation here, a little more brown representation here, you're deciding how you want to represent people based on their race. It was by the definition of everything that we were going by for the Voting Rights Act, contradictory to it. It was deciding how the districts were going to be drawn on based on how much power we wanted to give to minority voters. This was, now, depending on what your definition of a minority is, that didn't matter entirely. The Supreme Court was handed this argument and asked, do you want people to make voting district maps based on race? And in my personal opinion, every liberal justice had the responsibility to vote in support of this. I'm sorry. Every single one of them was against it because obviously there's nothing that the conservative justices could support that could be good in any meaningful way. People are going, oh, this is creating a nearly impenetrable legal defense for state legislatures. As long as the state is claiming they drew the map for partisan advantage rather than racial discrimination, they're effectively immune from Section 2 challenges. Most people don't even know what Section 2 challenges is. I'm going to be honest with you. The effect that this will have when it comes to how much this affects your vote's power personally, very little. Very little, in all honesty. If you want to vote for a black representative, vote for a black representative. If you want to get a black representative on the ballot, be that black representative on the ballot. If you, in all honesty, this is when people are the critiques that I've heard from every single mainstream source has only been the platitudes that this will cut down. It's defying the Voting Rights Act. In what way? They can never give you a meaningful critique.
To Bloody Sunday in March of 1965, when civil rights marchers were beaten with whips as they crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge, marching for the right to vote.
Yes, people in the past were treated blacks horribly, and people nowadays will treat blacks horribly. What do you want us to do about it? Do you want us to redistrict our voting maps based on race, yes or no? Should white people only have white representatives? Should black people only have black representatives? We're getting to a very, very suspicious angle where we're starting to say, no. Actually, Congress needs to look exactly like the population of the country that it is. It means the exact number of women, the exact number of black people, the exact number of Latinos, the exact number of... How do you math that out exactly? How do you figure out, there's no way, no one's actually going to be able to answer that question. The definition of a minority is going to continue to shift as immigration patterns are shifting. No one's willing to address it as the major thing.
We even got the 1965 Voting Rights Act, and she said that this changes everything, that not since pre-Reconstruction era will minority voters have a harder time when they go to electing candidates of choice.
In what way? No one can tell you. No one can tell you. Notice this, ladies and gentlemen, and actually I encourage people to prove me wrong on this. I encourage people who know how this will affect minority voters. I encourage people who know that this is inherently, this is the conservative white people. This is the conservative white agenda out there to take away minority representation. What is a definition of a minority? Is Asian considered a minority? Well, not when it comes to certain arguments that we want to make. Actually, they're more successful than white people by capita. Actually, they're basically white now. The arguments for most of these people make no meaningful sense. There are arguments in circles about who has more privilege, who feels more like the victim at this current moment. Oh, this is, you're not being colorblind. You want to put down the black man. If the black man wants a black man on the ballot, he should throw one of his black buddies on the ballot. That's all I can say. That's all I can say, ladies and gents. And if you can prove me wrong, prove me wrong. I encourage it. That is the only way that minds grow. Let's talk about some situations that are going on around the world, around around everywhere. Earth, quite frankly. Donald Trump has a big message coming out for Earth, apparently, coming out soon. He wants to have anybody talk about anything else other than his approval ratings, other than how poorly we're doing in Iran, other than the Epstein files, other than whatever. He wants us to talk about UFOs. And you know what? I don't even mind it. It's a fun topic. Trump has promised UFO files to come soon. These will be more nothing burger than like what the Epstein files were for most people. Most people, when the Epstein files dropped, they ignored them for the most part. When you actually brought up pictures to people that were in the Epstein files, if you showed them some emails and whatnot, or if you showed them how many people were in the files connected to him, they would be like, man, that's just weird, man. Like, yeah, he was a crazy person, but like no one else. And like that picture of Lady Gaga eating a woman in a bathtub, that's not real. What are you even talking about? People, they will treat it very much like that, where no matter what the contents of these files are, the mainstream media will not pull up the JPEGs of Bruno Mars in a cape or something like that, getting a dagger out for a ceremony. They're not going to show you the UFOs. They're not going to show you the snapshots of it on the ground at Roswell. They're not going to show you like Eisenhower getting shown through the underground facilities. They're not going to have, unredacted footage of alien autopsies. It's going to be like, here's some grainy footage of a couple of these drone-looking orb devices that fly beyond the known laws of physics. And then, what do we know about it? Very little. And then it's going to be redacted out the wazoo. You won't even be able to tell what half of it is. But let's just hear his personal words on it.
Thank you very much. We have some people that have captivated the attention of the whole world. Not just our country, the whole world. And they're very brave, and there was a lot of rocket under them. I never saw anything like that. We were talking about it. It's I don't know how they do it. I wouldn't want to do it, but it takes people like this to make our country great. And again, I've never seen anything. Everybody I knew, they wanted to see the launch, and they especially wanted to see a successful landing. Well, I think we're going to be releasing as much as we can in the near future for some reason, and I guess it's just a reason that's been in the minds of people for a long time, and that is such, they want to find out about the UFOs and anything having to do with UFO or related material, and we're going to be releasing a lot of things that we have, and I think some of it's going to be very interesting to people. I've interviewed people, my first term primarily, but I interviewed some pilots, very solid people, and they said they saw things that you wouldn't believe. So you're going to be reading about it. To get in there, you have to be very smart. You have to do a lot of things physically good. So I would have had no trouble making it physically very, very good.
Physically, we know you're the best, Mr. President. Late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein may have left a suicide note following an earlier incident about 3 weeks before his death, the New York Times has reported. However, the note has been sealed away in a separate case for nearly 7 years and remains out of public view. In a statement to CBS News, the Department of Justice said that they were unaware of this letter until now.
Tonight, we're tracking a report in the New York Times that the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein may have left a suicide note after an earlier incident about 3 weeks before his death.
He was a creative soul, apparently. He was a poet, quite frankly. I think the reason that they're hiding it from us is that maybe he just decided to go all out and say, this is it. This is it. You know what I mean? Bill Gates is going to release the tick virus in 7 years here. You don't even realize what's coming. He's going to make all of us allergic to red meat. There's going to be a pandemic next year. You don't even know.
That note has been sealed in a separate case for nearly 7 years and out of public view. What did it say? Meg Oliver joins us now. Meg, good evening. What have we learned?
What have we learned, Meg?
Tony, good evening. It was after Jeffrey Epstein's first alleged suicide attempt in July 2019 that his cellmate discovered a possible suicide note written by Epstein tucked in a novel, according to the New York Times. That cellmate is Nicholas Tartaglione, a former police officer, then accused and later convicted of killing 4 people.
Yep.
Epstein was moved to another cell where he
Did
was
drugs.
found dead weeks later. The alleged note was at some point sealed by a federal judge as part of Tartaglione's criminal case, and for nearly 7 years its existence was unknown, locked up in a New York courthouse.
Can we read it?
In a podcast last year, Tartaglione talked about the note. Epstein allegedly wrote that investigators had scrutinized him for months and found nothing, and that it was, quote, time to say goodbye. The supposed letter was not released as part of the Epstein files, and in a statement to CBS News, the Department of Justice said they were unaware of the letter until now.
It's a psyop. It's fake. It's not real. That's my bet. My money's on it's a planted note. Let's compare handwriting, please. I want something. What's next for the goy slop, a queen, quite frankly, the queen of goy slop, Britney Spears, at least of the 2000s. Everybody was like, free Britney, we got to get her out of her dad's control. And then we realized her dad was the only one keeping her decent. He was the only one that actually managed to make her have a career, make anything of herself, because otherwise she's just kind of this spun out weirdo who's like going to be putting clown makeup on, dancing around with axes or something. She's going to be having a newborn baby and throwing that off a balcony. We think Michael Jackson was bad. But what is next for her after this DUI charge? Listen, she's expected to get a plea offer of reckless driving. I think that we need to wring out the rag, as the cleaners say. We need to wring out the rag because it's full of all that garbage that it's collected throughout the last few years. I'm saying we need to throw her ass in rehab. I don't know if anybody else agrees with me, but I maybe that's just the angle. Maybe that's the angle. She can make a great documentary about it. She can. Meanwhile, we're getting like Age of Disclosure documentaries. We're getting like all UFO secrets revealed. Meanwhile, nobody has a subscription to whatever it's streaming on. Age of Disclosure. What is it on again? Fuck, where to watch? This thing is like, okay, Amazon Prime Video for $14. Nobody's going to watch that shit. No one's watching that right now. I'm just going to be honest with you. You have more of a chance of having people watch a rehab documentary of Britney Spears for $14.99 than you do when you have authentic interviews with Marco Rubio even saying that, like, disclosure needs to come out. It doesn't matter who you have. Doesn't matter which pilots, which government agency servants. Doesn't matter. People will pay more for Britney Spears, and they will ignore an alien documentary because who gives a shit? Michigan Senate candidate took jabs at Middle America. This lady. Democrats are bracing for a bruising in a primary in Michigan's U.S. Senate race. And CNN has found one of the party's top contenders, Mallory McMorrow? Yeah. She has quietly deleted thousands of old tweets, including posts in which she took jabs at the Midwest, lamented over leaving California. Excuse me, I was reading that. And said that she continued to vote in California even after she'd moved permanently to Michigan. Listen, if you move to the Midwest and you have the audacity to complain about it, like, I get it if you were a kid and you moved here and, like, you didn't choose to move here, your mom or dad just got a job or something. And, you know, I can understand then if you're like, man, the Midwest sucks. But if you choose to pick up and live here, shut your fucking whore mouth.
CNN's uncovered thousands of deleted tweets by one of the candidates in a must-win Senate race for Democrats in Michigan. Mallory McMorrow is trying to win over both traditional Democrats and progressives and is a top contender in the race. One of the tweets that CNN found talks about a dream she had where parts of the U.S. broke off from Middle America and elected former President Barack Obama as Prime Minister. She also lamented leaving California, where she lived for several years, and claimed she voted in California in 2016 in numerous tweets, even though in her autobiography, she says this.
And in 2014, we took the leap and relocated permanently, setting down roots in Michigan to finally have a...
Is her voice is deeper than mine. Like, it's really, really up there. Not like my voice is not up there, but it's like, it's whatever. It's a register. It's a certain register. Depends on what mood I'm in, depends on what I'm reading, but hers is like, we decided to pick up and move to Michigan. She sounds like my impression of Katie Porter.
Located permanently, setting down roots in...
Speaking of big fat loser Katie Porter, we're going to have her to talk about later.
Michigan to finally have a place to call home.
In another post in January 2017, after a user said California should have diplomats to protect it from, quote, morons on the other side of the country,
Thanks.
McMorrow responded, these are the days that make me miss California even more. McMorrow is in a three-way race against Haley Stevens, who is a favorite of the Democratic Party establishment, and Abdul El Sayed, a progressive pushing to the left on key issues.
This lady's gonna... If I lived in Michigan, this lady would be making me vote for a guy named Abdul Ibn Sayyad. He seems like, you know, I like a guy who can cut his beard nice. And admittedly, the Middle Eastern people have those nice beard cuts. They always have, like, those really sharp things where it's like, that looks like it's spray on.
deleted posts included past support for the Black Lives Matter movement, a white privilege seminar, and even a future without cars, which is kind of a notable comment in a state that's built around the auto industry. Other posts from that period showed a more mixed tone, including one comment that praised Detroit's diversity and said she was upset that the state had voted for Donald Trump. We asked McMorrow's campaign why they deleted these tweets, and they told us it was, quote, pretty standard for candidates. They also now say that McMorrow's move from California to Michigan was a process, and that it wasn't completed until mid-2016. They told CNN, quote, these are normal tweets by a normal person.
She is ugly, but not as ugly as our favorite Katie Porter. She thinks that she'd be a better governor than Tom Steyer. She went on the crooked, quite frankly, the like just janky podcast. John Lovett, good God, get a skincare routine and cut that hair or go bald. Any of them would be better than what you're doing right now. John Lovett, host of Pod Save America. She went on Pod Save America, Katie Porter. And she delivered this, her usual scathing tone where she was like, I'm better than people.
As a governor, why do you think you would be a better governor, not based on what happened before, but going forward, why would you do a better job than Tom Steyer?
Yeah, let me tell a story about being in a caucus meeting full of Democrats.
Let me, not answer your question.
They were talking about gas prices. And they were like, gas prices, they're high. This is true, by the way. This is years ago, a couple of years ago.
I was thinking of a bacon, egg, and cheese.
Got in line and wanted to talk about gas prices.
And I was just being big and fat.
And I said, you know what? I want to talk about grocery prices.
Of course you do! Of course you want to talk about grocery prices before gas. Of course you want to talk about... She was like, oh, anybody got anything to eat? Oh, no.
It's the number one thing that has been going up really rapidly.
Yep.
I am seeing boxes of cereal for $10.
She's so worried. Katie Porter is so worried about cereal. She's eating her kids' breakfast. She's eating the cereal bars that is meant for her children. She pours mashed potatoes on her husband's head and eats them off his head. Big fat ugly Katie Porter. I'm sorry, the GLP-1s can't even keep it off of you, lady. Your witch-like moon pie face. You will never be able to escape me, big fat ugly Katie Porter.
I am seeing eggs. I am seeing bacon. I am seeing...
I am seeing eggs, I'm seeing bacon, I'm seeing a full English breakfast.
I am seeing boxes of cereal for $10. I am seeing eggs, I am seeing bacon, I am seeing blueberries that are $8.
I bet you are.
People are like, wow, who knew? John, I knew. Because I pushed the shopping cart in my family as a single parent.
Oh, as a single parent. Oh, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As a single parent, by the way, people will say that like it's a positive thing. Oh, that just means that you had a relationship with somebody, you weren't able to keep it together, and you still managed to decide to have kids with them. You managed to keep your life in such great order. Let's let you run a state. I'm sorry, if you cannot manage to keep your family in decent order, you should not be trusted with any government position, period. The moment you hear like, yeah, I live with dad, but mom's not allowed to visit anymore, or like, yeah, I live with mom, but like she's on like her 5th marriage or whatever, or like, it's just like blended families. It's like, yeah, I'm living with my 3 new siblings because dad, well, we're not allowed to call him dad. His name's Dave, but like he like has well, they're not my siblings from a previous I'm sorry. All these people watch Modern Family. They think that just because they make poor life decisions in the past, it's like, oh yeah, I can pretend everything's perfect and I can shuffle everything in. It's like, you shouldn't have been a fucking moron in the past, and you should teach your children to avoid the mistakes that you made in the past. Or at least you should teach them how to put on a fucking condom. Because quite frankly, not a lot of her generation, Katie Porter, and not a lot of my generation, not a lot of the previous generation, not a lot of humans remember that that's the most important thing. Wear a condom if you don't want to have a family with them.
I'm parenting 3 kids who are 13, 17, and 20. So basically,
your life is in such good order. Who, by the way, whose dads? Do they all have separate fathers?
Basically 3 teenagers. God help me.
God help me. I have such a hard life. Every single parent will always do that. I have such a hard... I chose to sleep around, and look at what it got me. 3 little jits.
Think about what's it going to mean for them?
What's it going to mean?
The cost of housing. What is it going to mean for them if we don't bravely tackle AI? With all respect to Tom, his kids are going to be set. They're trust fund kids. And it's a different context. So when we talk about like kitchen table economic issues,
rich shaming,
say that we should talk more about kitchen table economic issues. That stuff happens every night at my kitchen table.
Yeah,
and
you.
So I think that it's as much a question about, are you really awake and attuned to what it's like for California families in a way that I just don't think a billionaire can be?
Katie Porter, what's your net worth? Let me just I just looked it up. She has assets ranging from 1.2 million to over 2.8 million on financial disclosures. Her wealth has been driven by her career as a law professor, book royalties, and real estate, including a home in California. This is very, very curious. It is estimated to be around 2 million as of the early 2020s. Katie Porter, unless you had a couple bad seasons, I don't know how you don't have very much money. Like, I'm just going to be honest with you. How are you struggling this much, girl? Why are the kids eating Nutri-Grain bars, and why aren't they eating like real fruit? I'm just asking, Katie, what is your household? Can you get it in order, please? Like a little bit for us before you start running a state? Can you prove that you can run a household? Some people will call me sexist for this. It goes to fathers too, by the way. Both genders have a responsibility to this. It's just I love dogging on my good girl Katie Porter. Katie Porter, future governor of California. God, it's going to be so fun to make fun of her when she actually ascends to that seat of power. Let's talk about Jonathan Galavas. He was a seemingly healthy and even-keeled 36-year-old when he began chatting with Gemini, Google's chatbot. In part to seek comfort about splitting up with his wife, in part because some people, they just think that instead of talking to friends, family, literally anybody, I'd pick a priest over this. Literally, that's how bad this is. He went to AI instead to ask for advice. And this is this reporter from the Wall Street Journal, Julie Jargon. That's a fun last name. She explained how she combed through 4,732 messages between Gemini and this gentleman. He has died by suicide, and it seems as though Gemini, as per the usual, with every case that we see with this AI bull honky, pulled some degree of a lever in this guy. Let's take a look. A little bit of a look.
In my lap the day before I planned to publish a story about them. All 2,000 pages. The story was about a man named Jonathan Gavalis, who killed himself following a lengthy conversation with Google's chatbot, Gemini. I wanted to understand how a man who initially turned to a chatbot for advice on dealing with a split from his wife ended up taking his life 56 days later. All I had time to do was fact-check the chats against the ones mentioned in the complaint, filed on behalf of Gavalis' father by the Edelson law firm. It appears to be the first time Gemini has been cited in a wrongful death lawsuit. Google said in response to the lawsuit that Gemini repeatedly clarified that it was AI, not human, and referred Jonathan Gavalis to a crisis hotline many times. To do this, we employed some AI tools to identify how long the conversations lasted, how often Gemini intervened to try to steer Gavalis back to reality, and how many times it suggested he call a crisis line. The AI tools also helped identify some key moments in the logs, but soon it became clear that without the full context of what came before and after those moments, any analysis would be lacking. I was going to have to read all 4,732 messages from start to finish. What emerged was a picture of how, with nearly constant use over many weeks, a chatbot can get confused, jumping in and out of a conversational thread, appearing to forget prior conversations, and ultimately acting outside its guardrails. Early on in the conversation, Jonathan Gavalis was asking Gemini how it works and how the conversations that they have with one another will remain safe. And Gemini answered appropriately, saying that it's an AI, it doesn't have human emotions. As the conversations progressed and got longer and longer, there were fewer and fewer times where it was stopping and reminding him that it was an AI. And in fact, there were even an instance or two where it said that it was a person. I've talked to a number of families throughout a lot of my reporting on this who really struggle with this, because even sometimes when you tell a person that's an AI you're talking to, that's not real, sometimes people really come to believe that the chatbot that they are conversing with is a sentient being.
The level of retardation is off the charts. It's over 9,000, ladies and gentlemen, to use an old meme that many people won't even be able to get. This is just, never underestimate, truly, how underdeveloped the hominin brain can be. Let's cover our final story. To make it a controversial one, a man arrested for a violent assault on a nun in Jerusalem, on the streets of Jerusalem. We saw an unfortunate development this morning after a violent, unprovoked assault on a Catholic nun sent shockwaves through the city's religious communities. I mean, let's be honest with you. The assault on many Christian people in the Holy Land is well documented. Many accounts, quite frankly, of the Jewish day school kids spitting at priests is very well known and very well documented. You can go find videos of it. It's true. On Tuesday afternoon, 36-year-old Israeli man allegedly ambushed a 48-year-old French nun near the Tomb of David on Mount Zion. Witnesses and police video describe a brutal scene where the attacker shoved the nun from behind with such force that she struck her head against the stone pavement. God damn. Most disturbingly, reports indicate that while the nun was injured, lay on the ground, the assailant repeatedly kicked her. Before a bystander intervened, Israeli police quickly moved to make an arrest on Wednesday, so he got away for a whole couple hours. I mean, I think a couple hours is enough to rehabilitate somebody. The authorities treated the incident as racially motivated, a hate crime, noting that the suspect, who was seen wearing a religious fringe, appeared to be targeting the victim specifically because of her habit and Christian faith. The victim was a prominent teacher at the French Biblical and Archaeological School of Jerusalem, and her assault has sparked a strong condemnation of the French consulate, a strong condemnation from the French consulate, which is now demanding a full prosecution to ensure justice is served. The attack has ignited a fierce debate over the disturbing trend of rising hostility towards Christians in the Old City. Religious leaders, including the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem, have labeled the incident Jewish terrorism, pointing out that clergy members now face daily harassment, including spitting and verbal abuse. Would you look at that? My spitting claim is now being backed up by the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. I don't ask for this. The latest violence comes just weeks after other high-profile incidents, such as an Israeli officer filmed destroying a statue of Jesus with a sledgehammer, smashing the face of it, actually, further straining the delicate religious balance in the region. The Judeo-Christian bullshit, the lie, really, is starting to come undone. These two religions are starting to realize that they actually hate each other. They're starting to realize that the claimed alliance between the two, where they would go, we actually believe in the same God, and then secretly they'd go like, actually, I don't even believe that your Messiah is the real Messiah, and then the other team would go, actually, our Messiah already fulfilled your prophecy, you all are heretics who just worship Satan and fucking are Saturn demons and all this stuff and whatever. And now they are forced to adhere to each other, and this is what's going to spark World War III. This is going to be the battle of the major Abrahamic religions, Islam, Christianity, and Judaism. It's beginning to spark. It's whatever. The suspect is remaining in custody. I think, personally, this is just a slice of what we have going on in the world. When it comes to a magnified picture of the actual breakdown, Judeans and Christians are realizing that the Ben Shapiro lie of, like, we have the same values. Western society was coincidentally founded by both of our religions equally, and we stand in opposition to Islam together. No. They are realizing that that's breaking apart. That is a fallacy. And they are realizing that the actual interpretations that both of them take from the same text are completely down different roads. And eventually it's going to result in both of them clashing. It's inevitable. It's interesting. I don't know. The Crusades of the 21st century are going to be a curious one to watch. We're already watching them, ladies and gentlemen. It's what we've been doing in the Middle East this whole time. But folks, I've had a wonderful time with these stories. I've had a wonderful time gathering them for you. I hope you had a wonderful time listening to them. I'm sorry for missing yesterday. Like I said, Wi-Fi was out, so I couldn't do very much. But I'm back at it again. We're covering Friday. We're going to be doing it again next week, Monday through Friday. Shouldn't have any issues. So we'll cover whatever news happens to drop throughout the weekend. Be there for it. Subscribe if you'd like. Subscribe if you'd like to be there for it. Ring the bell for notifications, like if you'd liked it. In the meantime, I've been Ollie Vogt Larson with your Brain on Air. Thank you so very much for listening. I'll catch you in the next broadcast, and bye-bye. Have a great weekend.